caught on fire and caught the building on fire with her trap. So that's how, you know, things could change. We could have the same thing right here with this car sitting here spinning. What can we do in the front that may be able to shut that motor down? If we're faced with that, we can't get in there, but we want to shut the motor down. What could we try? Good, extinguishers. Just start dumping the dry chems, the CO2, just dump them in the grill, try to hit that intake wherever the air intakes are, and maybe it'll choke the motor out. Yeah, it should. But even the powder may choke it. So do something to try to shut it down. We think about that very often. Okay, back to this. So cutting, good option. Let's say cutting's not working. I can't get my cutter in there, I can't get my saw in there, I can't get my chisel in there. It's not working. What else can I do?
Spreader, sealing, top of the seat.
Perfect, perfect. Now look in this car. Would that be a great choice on this car?
Yeah.
Great choice. So we're going to set our jaw tips right on top of our seat. It's going to push up, the roof's going to stay. Maybe it'll move a little bit, but we got a truck sitting on top of it. So the seats are going to fail. So we're going to come right on top of it, like right here, push up. That jaw's hitting the roof, that jaw's going to take that seat down. We'll probably have to cut this out of the way on this part, but that will push the seat down. Now, you may get in there, and it's so tight at the bottom because of the wreck, you may look at it and go, cutting ain't my first choice. Throwing my jaws up here is my first choice on this one. All right? Because it works most of the time. All right? Let's have at least one more. Okay, what are you going to hook to? Anything. Anything back here, right? So you're saying use a come along or something like that? Hear that? Pull from the rear with the come along, chain, choker cable, something. Yeah, I mean there's anchor points out the butt back here for that. Use our jaws with hooks, whatever. But this is the time where when we wrap that seat, we want to wrap the top of the seat. I wouldn't do the headrest because the headrest pops off. I would go to the top of the seat, and this is where I want to use what kind of chain hook. I want to use a grab hook or a slip hook. How come? Right, slip hook, because when we start pulling tension, I want that chain to bite into that seat. Right? So that slip hook's going to slip, and it's going to tighten up. Choker cable, I put a cable through the eye, that's going to bite. I could use a hook of webbing. That webbing's rated for over 6,000 pounds. That seat's going to fail way before that. That would work fine. Because if I just throw a loop over it, as that seat comes down, that chain just slides right off of it. And we have to reset. That's a pain in the butt to have to reset. Now, would that be my first option? Probably not. But it's there if we need it. All right? So what we'll do is we'll just have you go in. Why don't we cut this one? We'll have you cut this trunk out of there and then cut the seat down there at the right where the seam is. Now if this guy gets in there and he's trying to cut down low and his cutter just keeps sliding, take your knife out, cut the seat back open and look in there, because a lot of times that's sheet metal. But there's usually a couple holes right down by the hinges that I can get one of my tips in, the other tip will wrap right around, pull itself in, and we'll get through it pretty quick. Pull down on it, and that'll open it up. You can come back here and cut it. There you go. Now you really wouldn't have been able to do that because the side of the car is blocked.
Right.
Now, hey, when you all go back and you want to do this tunneling stuff, you don't need a truck. Just throw a tarp over the car and say, wherever the tarp is,
We got a debris pile somewhere.
And make them come in through the trunk. Put a dummy in there. Make them come in through the trunk and let them do one on their own. And then come back, show them what you learned, and I guarantee you're going to take time off of it. So, all right, that's a good way to do it. Because if you don't throw a tarp over it, everybody keeps trying to come around and they want to help. So that tarp will prevent that. Okay.
Good.
one of those spots where we got to watch our cutter, because if we get, if you think about it, that mechanism usually has rolled steel in it, and that's what gives it the spring. If I get too deep on that, and my cutter grabs hold of that instead of the bar coming out, you following me? Your cutter tips will grab, and then as they close, they start to separate. And if you keep going, you're putting all that load now on the base of your tip instead of out here where we want it. And there's a good chance if you keep going, you're going to snap a tip off. So we don't want to do that. So watch your tips. If you're on that, you don't want to be on it. You want to slide up, get above it, and make that cut. Okay? So watch your tips. I mean, everybody's making cutters now to deal with the high strength steel with some incredible forces. And that's the way we want them working. We don't want to be side loading those things. It's a bad thing. You take a cutter with over 300,000 pounds of cutting force and break the tip, that's bad. That's really bad.